Okay, we'll call our meeting to order. It's 4 o'clock. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? Nope. We'll have a couple of updates when we get through the warrant items. The first item is setting the municipal tax rate. You want to kind of go through it with us, Mary, as you did this morning?
So the grand list is grand list decreased from last year about 4%. So the value we have right now is $9,198,249. Most of the other numbers up in the front there, the town budget, I separated out the town budget into highway fund and the rest of the general fund. So you have the town budget expenses at $3,013,563, and then you take away the revenue, the anticipated revenue. And the bottom line is you get down to the total dollars to raise for the town at the $1,618,786. This year there is no surplus to return to the offset the expenses. So you just take that total dollar amount and divide it into a grand list, which gives you the tax rate of 0.1760.
1767.
Huh?
1767.
No, 0.1760 at the top, because then you have the local agreement tax rate. The local agreement tax rate is, we exempt the Friendship Lodge and the Shalott Grange from taxes. The state requires us to pay the education tax portion, regardless of us telling them they don't have to pay any taxes. And so this is how you figure out the tax rate for that local agreement. Basically, you just take the total assessment of those two, Friendship Lodge and Shalott Grange, and multiply it by the non-residential education tax rate. Gives you a total taxes of $5,150.50. That's how much in education taxes you have to raise. Likewise with the homestead veterans exemptions, the state allows for $10,000 exemption, and the town voted to give $40,000 exemption for veterans. So that extra $30,000 per parcel has to be, the education taxes have to be raised for those pieces. So that's a similar calculation of the $90,000 times, this time times the homestead education tax rate, since those are homestead. You get a total tax amount of $6,614.98 for those three different exemptions. Divided again into the grand list to get a tiny local agreement tax rate of 0.0007, giving you a total municipal tax rate of 0.1767. And that is what we are voting on today. We had estimated at town meeting time that total municipal tax rate would be 0.1789. So we're pretty close to that. Last year, I think the total tax rate for 2015-16, I think it was, I don't have it in front of me, I think it was 0.14, is it 0.1439?
Yep.
And most of the reason for that sizable difference is the fact that we had a $203,000 surplus, which we were able to put back into the calculation last year, which we don't have this year.
And the 4% grand list changes the rate, but not the expenses that the town needs to raise.
Actually, the difference is mostly because of the surplus not being calculated in.
So the school portion is provided by, the school rate is provided by the state.
Correct.
So we have no say in that whatsoever.
No, so this year, the homestead tax rate, education tax rate is 1.6272, which is about 9 cents more than it was last year. The non-residential tax rate is 1.5655. So the big jump in tax rate this year is going to be mostly on your education side.
And that's where you're going to see the 3.54% increase with the grand list coming down, but every property is individually appraised. Some may have gone up, some may have gone down, but the grand list overall is down about 4%.
Our CLA after reappraisal is 98.05%. So just so you know, if that had come in at exactly 100%, which it's never going to come in at exactly 100%, just because you do a reappraisal, it doesn't mean that you're right on 100%. The homestead tax rate would have been 1.6072, approximately.
So as we proceed with a motion, do you want this total document or just the
You're
total?
setting the tax rate for the municipal.
So that's all you want, the .1767.
Yep.
Is there a
You
motion?
should separate it out as the municipal tax rate and the local agreement tax rate, just because
But all you want from us is,
those two things.
what was the second one you just said?
0.1760 at the top,
Oh, that, okay.
and the local agreement tax rate of 0.0007 to give you a total of 0.1767.
So we can just state it that way, okay.
Yep.
Would somebody like to make a motion for the municipal tax rate?
I'll make a motion to approve the tax rate of 0.1760 for the municipal taxes. Local agreement tax rate of 0.0007 with a net municipal tax rate of 0.1767.
Is that seconded?
Second.
Okay. Are there any questions from anybody on this, on the audience, or any comments? I asked Betsy to be here if there are any questions regarding the CLA and what's happened to the grand list. We had a reappraisal. You've seen that in the newspaper that was handed out. Yes, ma'am.
I have a comment on the total tax rate, even though you're only talking municipal. Back in March, we voted to do our consolidation for the schools. And I don't remember exactly the verbiage that was used, but they assured us that there was going to be a substantial credit given back to the town or the school to help out, and it doesn't appear that that's happening. I don't think that this big increase is really related to education. Something is going on here, and I don't quite understand it. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I would love to see a select board meeting here soon and invite Mark McDermott, the chair of the school board, to come in here and explain this to us. Because I really thought we were going to save some money in taxes to vote for the consolidation, which of course I did. Now I got to write a bigger check. That doesn't make sense. Something is not being explained properly, and I don't expect you to explain it, but I would think that Mark would be able to.
Okay, we can do that. I don't know when it's implemented, to your point.
Yeah.
I mean, we
maybe-
just
maybe
voted
next
it.
year.
That's the answer when I asked that question. I'm trying to remember who responded on my email and said that would be effective next year.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but I didn't know that. I thought it was gonna be right off.
But a big increase before you get a discount is
Yeah.
always suspect.
Throw the bait out.
So discount was bigger,
Put it on
right?
sale.
So we'll do that, Dean, make a note to invite him. Any other comments or questions? All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Thank you, Mary, and Dean for helping.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mary.
The next item on the agenda is the engineering support for the 2 grants that we received. Under the Better Roads, it's in our packet. We are receiving a $16,000 grant and we're receiving a second grant for the 2 numbers, 16,000 and
12,077.
okay, of which it's been recommended that we have an engineer oversee that work. It's work on East Thompson's Point Road, both of these projects. The engineering effort is about $3,000. And we are paying 20% out of this total grant for the work and the engineering. So we are here to take a motion to approve that engineer who's done the groundwork to get us to where we are right now. Did I explain that right, Dean? Is there a motion to approve Milone and MacBroom's engineering quote to us?
I'll make a motion, but I got some questions, so I'll make a motion first. I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Milone and MacBroom for engineering for the East Thompson's Point Road project. I guess.
I'll second that.
Not seconded. Okay, discussion. Yes.
Does the engineering include the engineering of the site, surveying anything, layout? Is that all up to the contractors?
Could you identify yourself?
So I'm Jess Lillisos. I'm a professional engineer and I work for Milone and MacBroom.
Okay.
And it would be either likely myself or if need be one of my coworkers who would actually be doing the work personally. So
That's the layout, the location of the diverters and the,
yep. So there's a few different things that would require laying out. There is a culvert, which we picture staying in the exact location it is, but we could make sure that that happens. There's check dams as well as some stone berms, and we can lay those out with Junior by staking them. We can also check grades to get the slope as required. So yes, included.
so when it says verification, that's as-built in terms of what the grades are when it's finished?
Yeah, we can write it down and put it on the plans.
Are these going to be located horizontally, I mean, with respect to state plan coordinates or whatever grid you choose to use on a as-built, so we know where they are?
Yeah, I mean, we have a GPS system that would be able to get it within, I think it has an accuracy of 3 feet, if that's acceptable.
Is there any of the AOTS people that are going to accompany you?
Who?
The committee that, the head of the storm group? And just
coming to this meeting, or could he be here for the discussion?
He did say he'd be here. I can call him on his cell if it's needed. if there's,
He's thinking it's 4:30 the meeting or even later.
I'm sorry?
He's thinking 4:30 or later for the meeting.
Well, it's 4:15 on the agenda.
Coming in.
Because I think it's really important that, it's nice that a committee of people wants this done. I think they should really understand what they're doing. And personally, I would like to see some of the committee accompany you on your field visits so you can explain what's going where, why it's going there. So when they look at future projects, or they understand how the costs are involved, because they know how it goes together. I think can be a disconnect between what happens and who asked for it to be done, and maybe they do, maybe they don't. I've never met the committee, but I think that I personally would like to see them more involved with any inspections and certifications, so they understand the process. Then if they decide they want to find another site to do this stuff on, they understand how it works, what might be necessary, why it might be a good site, why it might not be a good site.
I agree.
Do you think we could set up?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I bet we could do like a
Yeah.
site visit during construction with the whole group and go through
Yeah.
all of that
I
for
think that would be
educational
great.
purposes.
So it's their vision, but coming from both sides of engineering and putting stuff together, your vision is sometimes different once you know how it all goes together. And I would encourage that.
When you meet before the project started, once.
Well, I think this has a pre-construction meeting, and did I see that in here?
There was a,
2 progress ones and a post-construction meeting, which would all be a great education for you.
No, the point of all this is educational, Fritz, as you know, so it's gonna be really well documented, both photograph-wise and paper narrative, so that the whole point is to educate not just the AOTS committee, but the whole community. I mean, that's the whole intent of the project.
Maybe they can be invited. I don't want to.
Yeah, I mean, originally
you-
it was the idea that the educational component of this was gonna start right at the get-go. But as it turned out, we're not inviting the public in on the process as we had originally envisioned, because it's just plain complicated to do that. So we decided to start the educational aspect of this more towards the end, and you're bringing us back to that original thinking. which is
Perhaps
fine.
invite of strategic people. I don't know.
Yeah,
Do you
no, that'd be good.
And do you
Contractors, I mean,
think,
certainly the planning people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
do you think it would make sense to also include like someone from your local newspaper to that meeting to maybe try
Well,
to
I
get
think
an
that'd be great.
article?
I
Sure.
think that the more people understand what the project does and how they go together, they might say, hey, I could do that in my house. If they don't know, if you ran into something at the library, that wouldn't,
so would you have this
No, it'd be fine.
pre-meeting on the site then?
So I think that what I understood for Fritz, now I'm going to paraphrase just to make sure I understood, was understood that maybe the pre-meeting would probably be like the engineer and junior and the people actually doing the work, and then once it's underway and there's something to look at, maybe we would do a whole group meeting and invite the press and invite our whole group and all of you, anybody who wanted to come to do like an educational meeting session during construction. So junior, whoever's doing the work, could be doing the work, and we could be standing far enough away that we could hear and talk about it and talk about why. I think that's.
Is this the first ahead of the storm project for Charlotte then?
Yes, the
Okay,
first
so this is-
installation,
This is, you have other
Yeah.
opportunities
Yes.
throughout the town?
yes.
Oh, so that
Yep,
works.
no, it's a nice, that's a good idea,
It's a great
Lane.
idea.
the post-construction of, this is what's supposed to happen, and this happens to you when it's, some people can't look at a plan and
So
visualize.
maybe a
what's
post
going on.
one too,
Well, there's a post-construction meeting, so it could just be a little more of
but
a,
with the
Public
more
brouhaha
community
than-
folks, yeah.
would be a standard construction meeting.
Great.
Other comments?
I would like you to have a way in before you break.
You would have to. Did he respond?
Yeah, I'll be here about 4:30.
Okay, what we could do is, we have a motion here. What we could do is hold off on acting on this motion, then when Junior comes, we can reconvene this topic. so we can see what else we need to do on the agenda.
So we're move to table the motion? Is that how we can? Table it or postpone it?
I'd say postpone, I don't think we need to create it. Is there a motion to postpone for
Yeah, well, yeah, sure, that's
15 minutes or so? Okay.
however we
That was
want
a
to do
motion
this.
to postpone till we get Junior's input. Second, all in favor? Okay,
I'm good.
good. We have a couple other items. The next item we have on the agenda is Thompson's Point, Lot 128. This could possibly be lengthy. Are you folks here? I can't remember. You're from what?
Yeah.
Could you remind me your names again?
Valerie Deepa.
Okay, you're Valerie.
Norman Ernst.
Okay, so you're both sides of 127 and 129. Oh, you're both sides of 128. So, to bring the select board up to date, we made a motion, the select board made a motion in 2014 to subdivide lot 127, 128. Since then, we have learned that that was an error on the part of that select board, that vote. In accordance with our land regulations, we are not allowed to subdivide where there's a single lease and two lease holdings. We're not allowed to do that. So we appropriately divided lot 128 and 127. So that's an opinion from our attorney.
What was the attorney's
When did that
recommendation?
happen?
Well, I mean, that's where there's a bunch of options. We could revert back to one of the adjacent property, revert back to 127, 128 could go back to a single lot if the owners of 127 wanted to do that. That's probably the easiest one. I don't know if you have, there's things we talked about, some variations.
Yeah, it kind of depends on what people want to do. I mean, if nobody wants either one of those lots, you are allowed to lot line adjust and not, according to the ordinance, but not to separate. So you could minimize lot 128, and that could be absorbed as part of the town holdings, which are adjacent lots. You would make the town's acreage a little bigger, make lot 28 infinitely smaller. So then that section in between would become public real estate, along with the rest of Thompson's Point. Or if either party wants to lot line adjust 127 and or 129, they could each, you could split it, one person could take it all. There also has, whatever we have to do some sort of negotiation with the current owner of 128.
That, I think, is a separate issue. I think we have two issues.
Yeah.
We have the division of lot 127, 128, and then the separate issue, there's a claim against the town for plans to put a new building on lot 128. And the
Right.
fact that we are going to revert back to a single lease. So there, most likely there is we call it a claim or a recommended adjustment from for Paul Arthod's the lot, who believes he owns that lot, which we find an error. So taking care of that versus resolution law 127, 128 are almost, I think, two different issues.
And we're not talking about ownership, we're talking about leaseholding, right?
Correct, this is rented, you're right about that.
This is town land.
This is town's land, right, sorry about that, that's right, it's the leasing of town land. Mary, you had a comment?
So when we're talking about the possibility of 128 going to, like, let's say the people that own 127, or the, before anybody thinks about that, you might want to ask the assessors what the value would be to have it exist as 127 and 128 again. Because just because you put 128 back with 127, it doesn't mean that you take the fair market value of both those lots and add them together, and now they have this new larger assessment. That's like when they split 128 and 127, the combination of those two, the fair market value of those two lots was much greater than it was as a single double lot.
Well, lot 128 has a valid septic system.
I'm not talking about that.
You're talking about the value of the land,
I'm
right?
talking about the value of the land. If you're going to talk about an adjacent person maybe wanting that 128, which is what I thought you said,
Yeah.
they may or may not want it, depending on how that affects their rent. You can't just take the value, what I'm saying is you can't just take the value of lot 128 and add it to, let's say, 127 and come up with a new, and think that that's their new value.
It's
Am I
not-
making sense here or no?
Yeah, it's not a buildable lot, so it's not. gonna
Well,
be
it
the
could
same.
be. It could be
It
what was.
doesn't, the value of the land on Thompson's Point is not valued whether you can build on it or not. It's front footage on the lake.
Okay,
And so when those two lots were split, I think maybe the value of 127 and 128 together was let's say 325 or something. When they were split, the lot 128 is valued at 252,000 just itself. And I can't remember what 127 is, but I'm just saying that it might be wise to ask the assessor, okay, if 127 and 128 revert back to a single double lot, what would the value be?
okay, understand. Yes,
So just to clarify, lot 128 can never be built on.
that's not true.
And how is it, why is that?
It was used previously, as I understand it, as an adjacent quarters to lot 127. There is a septic there. There is a grandfatherable, I believe, foundation footprint, and I believe it could, and I'm just repeating what I'm hearing, I'm not an expert in this matter, but I believe if the owner, if we went to, let's say 127, 128 was put together again, and the person who has the lease wants to put a bedroom and a bathroom and goes through the permitting process, I believe that's a possibility.
It's my understanding that it's not actually, and this is not in regulations, it's in case law of the environmental court. There have been cases addressing non-conforming structures that the existence of which are grandfathered into the town regs because they were built before there were land use regulations. And I'm specifically thinking of a case in Colchester. I'm not aware of one in Charlotte, but in Colchester, there was an issue of a seasonal camp that had been abandoned. It had been not maintained for many years, and new owners purchased it with the intent of renovating it and making it a new seasonal structure. And the environmental court found, and it was actually appealed to the Vermont Supreme Court, and they held that a non-conforming structure that has been abandoned cannot resume its grandfathered status as a non-conforming structure. Because one of the purposes of the land use regulations is to phase out non-conforming structures. And when you resume the life of a non-conforming structure after it has been abandoned, you're contradicting the purpose of the land use regulation. So I don't think that anything could be built there. So essentially, the decision to split the lease renders the property unmarketable. And there is a part of the infrastructure of lot 127 is on lot 128 because that was the guest house of the big house on lot 127. So if anything could have been done with that building, it could have been renovated as a guest house. I think there even would have been a question of whether that would have been acceptable because it was abandoned.
Prior to it having been abandoned?
Well, no. I mean, we've been there 19 summers, and we never knew it as anything but an abandoned structure that was never maintained. So at least during the time that we have been directly aware of that house, it was abandoned. But I think arguably when Paul Arthode owned it, he could have tried to get a permit to fix it as a guest house, and there probably wouldn't have been an issue with that. But splitting it kind of puts it in this no man's land, basically. And the problem is, I think I think there are a number of issues. One is, I think, just in questions of just legal formalities and protecting the town and all of that, I think you have to specifically rescind the decision to have severed the lease. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, okay, what do you do with the property now? My husband and I never were interested in renting that lot, and Norm and Nina, when they purchased their camp and rented their lot, were presented it as two separate things. Like, do you want to buy both, or do you want to buy just this one? And they said, we just want to buy this one. So that was left hanging out there, and it wasn't until all of this transpired beginning last summer when we came to the town and said, please enforce the lease because the property is falling apart, it's a health and safety hazard, something needs to be done. Only then, over the months, this became apparent. So the issue is, yes, the land, if you reattach lots 127 and 128 under a single leasehold, that Norm and Nina never intended to assume those economic consequences when they purchased their camp. So the question is, how do you deal with that? How do you come to something that satisfies everyone? Norm and Nina, us, and the town, basically. If the settlement with Paul is different. So that the boundaries are more sensible in terms of the infrastructure that's on lot 128 vis-a-vis lot 127, and everything.
But it would be
else.
Let's say they did not want, the owners of lot 127 did not want to take on lot 128. Then that becomes land that is open to the town, right?
Presumably, yeah.
With access to the beach, to the shoreline.
Well, there really isn't access. There isn't easy access. It's not like
Maybe not today.
Well, I mean, the problem with that is, as a practical matter, you really need to go there and see what the space is. Also, the new state shoreland protection laws may make it difficult to create an access there because of the concerns with erosion protection and all of that. And I don't want to feel that there's any kind of any kind of a threat hanging out there that, you know, we're going to put a path with a dock and a boat landing and you'll have hundreds of people traipsing through your yard. I mean, I don't think that's the intent of any of this. I mean, I think fundamentally, I think my husband and I and Norma Nina would be fine splitting the property. I think the issue is how do you deal with the long-term carrying costs of the property? I mean, we're happy to, we would plant, you know, vegetation that would contribute to erosion control, which I think would be far preferable to a structure there. And, you know, we're happy with no structure there. We would help tear down whatever is there. But I know from our standpoint, and I think from Norma and Nina's too, is what about the long-term carrying costs of that land? Which we never intended to, and which we don't really feel like is our responsibility because of the town's error. But it happened. Here's where we are. What do we do from this point moving forward so that it's fair to the town, to us, to everyone else on Thompson's Point who have leases? So that's kind of where we are at this point.
So it seems to me a first step would be, as Mary was suggesting, get a market appraisal of a single lot, or 127, 128 combined. What's that do to the shoreline appraised value for the purposes of a rental?
Purposes of a rental.
Well, it's renting of land, so
Yeah.
it has a
Or
different
rental,
value
yeah.
than if it's two independent. If you merge, what would, it seems to me, we take a look and see what that assessed value would be.
We could ask for two. It sounds like there's another possibility of having 127 be split in half and have 126 and 128.
128 split in half.
You can have a boundary,
129 and 127.
a boundary adjustment, but someone,
But that would be another appraisal. One would be,
Right. And we would be interested in doing that. I mean, like I said, I mean, we have lived for 19 summers with this terrible, nasty thing in front of our door, and we've just sort of, you know, we don't want to come up here during the summers and fight with people and come to these meetings and complain about things. I mean, that's not, I mean, that's not our intent. So if this is an opportunity to deal with that building, which, I mean, I hesitate to even call it a building because it's just, it's a falling apart shack. And, you know, I think that would be a good starting place at least. I mean, I know that we would be okay splitting it in half. I mean, that is not the problem, and maintaining it is not the problem. One of our greatest joys coming up here is fixing up our house and bringing in plants and, you know, puttering around and doing stuff. And we'd be very happy to do that with the land that's, you know, on the other side of that driveway there. I think the biggest practical issue is, you know, the long-term carrying costs. I mean, how is that going to be dealt with, given the fact that the mistake wasn't our fault, and we're willing to help compromise to reach a resolution?
so it seems like we have two things to do, as you've pointed out. Rescind the decision, we have to legally see how that gets done, and, you know, Paul Arthod is believes to be the owner, and we have to see what the impact of that, of rescinding that has on him. And then the second part is a reassessment of the land with a couple of different options, you know, boundary adjustments, and we have to kind of think that through with some recommendations from.
when you speak of long-term carrying costs, you're talking about the difference in the tax costs?
Yeah, the rent.
Yeah.
I mean, basically the rent, because we don't, is your septic system on lot 128? Is that?
It is.
No.
No, the septic is on ours.
Is on yours, but there's a separate one for that
Yes.
house. So if that structure were torn down, there would be no need for that septic
Right,
connection
right.
anymore.
And I probably should know this, but how many years are remaining on each of your leases?
I should know it too, but I don't. I don't know.
Well, your lease is brand new, 2014.
3 years old.
So 18 years.
Right.
18, 17 years.
Yeah, and we've been there, this is our 19th summer.
Are they 20-year leases, Mary, or 25? 20, so yours might be coming up soon.
It doesn't really matter, because if you want it to come up for some reason, whatever, you just terminate the lease that you're in and you execute a new lease. If you're,
Which is what we did the select board did 2 years ago.
yep.
Right. So any other discussion on this? Yes.
When was the vote by the town to do this originally? What?
You mean to divide 127, 128?
Yeah.
I think
Did they cover
2004.
planning and zoning or zoning administrator or?
Select board did.
So it was a vote of the board
Yes,
at a duly warned meeting?
yes.
Can I address that? I'm not on the select board, I wasn't part of it or anything, but it is my understanding that when people sell their camps to a new person, they're gonna need a new lease, so they have to come to the select board and tell them we're selling our camp, we wanna end our lease, and have you issue a new one to the
Where I
buyers.
had this was somewhat different than just a renewal of a lease
Right,
or
but-
just a normal sale. You also were, at that time,
Right,
you were subdividing a lot.
right, but.
The reason why you got septic in that building, it isn't really a building, is when we built the septic system, we were very liberal giving away hookups.
Right, and there was something there which, at that time, probably was salvageable. When was the septic system put in there?
92.
92? So we bought it in our house in 98,
What?
so, but I think you didn't quite understand the configuration when Paul asked to have the lease separated. I mean, I shouldn't say
It
that.
was a
because it's-
recommendation to the board back then, and the board accepted the recommendation. I think the realtor and the realtor's attorney recommended that it be separated, and we saw no cause to think otherwise.
Who was the realtor?
I don't know.
Who, and why didn't our attorney look at it?
Nancy Jenkins.
No kidding.
I don't know, but I know that they were interested in, Paul had his camps on the market for quite a while. They just wanted to do something to make it.
So how come Mr. Stitzel at the time didn't give an opinion?
We probably didn't ask him to do it. It sounded like a reasonable request at the time. There were two, the maps had two individual lots. Seemed like a logical request, and I believe it was approved.
Wasn't logical at all.
Okay, that's your.
And how many other ones at Thompson's Point is there like this?
Well, I know.
Do you know that?
I don't know the exact number, but I know there are other camps on the market right now that have several buildings on like 1 or 2 lots. Like there's one on North Shore Road that actually has 3 buildings and on 2 lots. Because when these camps were built, families would build one camp and then the kids would grow up and get married and have kids, so they'd build another one for the grandkids and kids, and it just sort of expanded like that. So there's this one camp that has 3 structures, and I think each one of them could be inhabited separately. They all have kitchens and bathrooms, and they're like 3 different little houses on 2 lots. So if you were to set a precedent with splitting leases, and all of those are under one lease, if to follow a precedent of splitting a lease, you would have people splitting their guest houses and their sheds that have sleeping quarters, and it would just be a mess, so.
Well, there's one on Deer Point Road, Alamo, Middle.
Okay, so is
How do you fix that? Well, you can't just move on, Lee, you got a question for God's sake.
go ahead.
How are you gonna fix the other problems?
I don't know that there are other problems that have been brought to the attention of the board yet. We need to take care of this one.
No, but shouldn't our zoning administrator, or the board go back and look at the problems that might be, so you have some type of understanding what type of a can of worms you're opening up? Mr. Rothhaus is not gonna be happy. And other people on the point, when they start hearing about this, I dealt with Thompson's Point years ago, and they get a little bit worked up over things. Right, Marty? And, it's something you should have the answer to before they come in and ask the question.
Okay.
I mean,
Are you recommending that we have attorneys look at every lease change?
You haven't got to do that because you can probably narrow it down pretty quickly. But I do believe that it's an issue that's going to come up, especially now, that you ought to start having the answers for it.
I'm not understanding the issue. I think it's pretty clear to us now. I mean, I sat on the board when we made the decision, and it seemed likely to me that if it's a separate legal lot, it should be sellable. Then for a tax basis, they take contiguous lots and put them under one parcel all the time. That does not prohibit you from separating again and selling them. So this seemed like a similar concept. Okay, they're together under one lease, but if it's a legal lot, you could separate it back out again. But there is something in the ordinance that specifically says you can't do that.
If you look at
So
our
then it became obvious that the problem was, as we tried to subdivide, the lease is the governing factor and not necessarily the lot.
I wouldn't try to justify what you've done wrong. I'm just trying to tell you that you ought to look at what you've got for other problems, because there's multiple areas where this conflicts. When we built the septic system down there, as I said, we were liberal giving away septic hookups. But it didn't allow for any more subdivision of the properties. And that's what got us to adding it into our zoning bylaws. We weren't allowed to make any more lots or any more structures.
Even in separate
Correct.
lots,
Right.
even with.
So if you had
There
a
are
chicken
lots
coop
that
or
aren't
fish
buildable.
shanty, we might have given you
Yes.
a sewer hookup.
I'm
But
not,
that was at the time we could do it. We couldn't do it later on.
Well, it seems like the solution is to not allow leases to be split. I don't understand the need to go back to do research.
That's what's in our land regulations.
I mean, we just
Same.
really need to stick to the land use regs with Thompson's Point
Yeah.
leases.
struggling to see what the other thing is that's gonna rear its ugly head in the future. If we, we shouldn't make the same mistake twice, that would be really dumb.
Well, Robert's pointing out that there's situations, I know our campus, one of them too, where there's two lots. It's just the history.
Single lease.
Single lease, two
The
lots.
regulations are very clear. We missed that 2 years ago.
No more hookups is the bottom line.
No, I think what he's saying is there are other camps out there that have a leasehold that was split.
Yes.
Got it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That was split, what,
Yeah.
years ago?
Yes.
Not very many years ago.
So we should take a look at those situations. then.
That's what I just said.
I think with regard to things that have happened already, I think the overall thing that people have to keep in mind is what is fair to everybody. And if somebody has changed their position economically because of some sort of a decision, and it's very hard to undo that change, it would be unfair to that person to.
Yeah, but there might be an illegal septic hookup that wasn't designed in the system.
I mean, that's something that is way outside my area of expertise, engineering kind of questions. But the thing about this situation is a mistake was made and it was caught in time to fix most of it. I mean, Paul did make the mistake of trying to sell his lots separately. And I think he's probably the one who's most negatively impacted at this point. And I want to try and minimize the negative impact on my husband and me and Norm and Nina, because I don't want us to have to absorb the economic consequences of the town's mistake, basically. So we just got to do what's fair
Okay.
for everyone.
So we have some actions. We're not going to settle them here, but good conversation, and we'll look into some of the other leases that may somehow apply with the priorities toward 127, 120, 129.
Do you have an idea of the time frame for coming to some sort of decision about this?
I think we have to get a clear legal opinion. I believe we can rescind in the near term, and I don't know if that means 30 days, but I think the claim that's going to be against the town might take a little longer.
Claim Paul's?
What was that?
The claim from.
A claim from Paul.
From Paul, okay.
I mean, we have insurance for things that go wrong, and this is an example, nobody's hurt or anything, but there was a decision made that's gonna cost the town some money, and perhaps our insurance company can investigate the claim, not the splitting of 127, 128. That's pretty clear, but we have to get appropriate legal language and vote on it and get a new lease or leases created. So we have to look at these options. Do you remove the property line? Well, that's got to be looked at. So that will take a little bit of time, not too long, I'd say 30 to 60 days. And then the claim against us, we haven't dipped into that water yet. We don't know. We don't know if the insurance company will accept it. We have to find out. Most claims say, what is the loss that you've suffered, and the town hasn't had a loss per se, but we have had a financial impact on a person who thought he was a landowner.
Can I make another suggestion?
Yes, Robert.
That you look at your legal counsel and see if they're up to this task of defending you. Do they have that expertise?
Well, if we went to the insurance company, why would we want to spend the money for our lawyers to do it?
But you're gonna have to represent yourself somewhat. Okay. So. the
Insurance company will cover it, or will defend it.
All they ever do once they
Okay.
went to court.
Everybody all right to move on? Thank you for your research over the last month or so. We want to go back to a postponed motion? Do we want to?
So we're ready to move back?
Yeah.
Yes.
Not move on?
Okay, so somebody want to rescind or whatever, make a motion to,
So I guess, Junior, sir, we had a discussion about the engineering part, and I asked if their engineering is gonna provide layout and location and basically as-built information. And the answer was yes. I think that was one of your questions, is where are you gonna put the check dams, and what's the perimeter of the pond gonna be? That's gonna be handled by the engineering, the layout is. So I didn't know if you had any other questions. Did I get that one right?
I'd like to respond to that as-built thing. So you would specifically ask if I would record the location of the slopes. So I just want to be clear, I'll do that, and I'll record the location of the check dams on our plans, but this fee doesn't include a full survey of an as-built condition. It's not like a survey crew is going to come out
No, I
and
just,
survey it all. I just want to make sure you understood the level of
that I
as-built
understand,
that I-
just
yeah.
a description of where it is in the world.
Yeah, yes.
So, where it is with respect to property lines, road center lines, something like that.
Yes, I will do that.
So if you do the GPS thing, that'll tie it in. If you just pick any other point, it'll tie it all together.
so Junior, what we're doing, we're going to vote on the engineering support contract to oversee and provide kind of an awareness of what's going on. This is the first of these different projects. We'll have a mid-progress report and have the press there take a look at what we're trying to do for conservation ahead of the storm. So we have a motion on the table to approve the Milone and MacBroom contract for $3,000 to oversee this. Do you have any objections, comments, or anything you would like to add?
I don't really have any objections. I think it would be wise to have them do that,
Okay.
just because it's new, especially to me, so I think it's wise to have them do it.
Okay. Any other comments? Yes, sir.
I have a question for the engineer. Do you think this would make that be a blue line after it's completed?
Could you say that again?
Do you think that will create that ditch to be a blue line when it's completed?
No, I do not.
Okay.
What's a blue line mean?
A stream.
It will not revert to being a river or a stream that would be mapped, or wetland. It would be.
With a buffer.
Yeah.
Robert doesn't want a buffer on the side of the pond.
I hate buffers.
I don't blame him.
It's an illegal taking of land, and Act 64 is to blame for it. And as soon as they can get rid of that crook up there in Montclair, Shumlin, a lot of this stuff will go away.
So the answer is no, it will not become a route.
Okay.
I think you're right.
I don't care.
Are there any more comments or concerns or
Well,
questions?
I got one comment. What are we doing about the width of the road there? Because there was some discussion.
What was the question, Robert?
Width of the road, the traveled portion of the road.
As I recall, it's gonna stay the same.
It's gonna stay the same.
Okay.
Yeah. We talked at one point before we made a decision about maybe making it a little narrower, but it's gonna stay the same. That was the decision.
Narrow roads don't work.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's why we're coaching on your real estate, because we didn't want to make the road small.
I don't know.
So we brought the motion back on the floor?
Sure.
We have.
Yeah. I'm good with
Okay.
that.
So we're in a position to vote on the motion?
Do you want to restate it?
Sure, why don't you restate, that'd be good.
Fritz, you still want to make the motion, and Carrie, you're still going to second it to approve the contract with Milone and MacBroom, of the quote to pay for an engineering of the East Thompson's Point Road project.
We should put the dollar number in there.
It says not to exceed
Not to exceed
$3,000,
$3,000.
and it's prepared
Pretty fast.
to be signed by the chair.
Oh, yeah.
To be assigned.
And authorize?
And they're gonna be at the pre-construction
Yeah, just
meeting,
sign.
right?
Yeah. To be invited for the select board to be made aware of the time of the various meetings that support this.
To keep the select board
Be advised.
Is it going to be blue stone?
advised of the.
You know, like from New Haven Pike?
Is that
Because
the
that'll show up
pre-
as a
There's
blue
a
line
pre,
on
and I
Google
think
Maps.
there's a progress meeting, a pre, a progress, and a
Post-construction.
completed meeting. I think there's probably 3 meetings.
4 meetings.
How many?
It's 4 meetings. It says 1 pre, 1 post, and 2 during
During.
construction.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we have that motion.
Gee, that got longer.
And you authorize the chair to sign it?
Mhm.
Discussion.
Yes, we're on the
so-
discussion phase.
Normally, I or our company would maintain an email list of people who would be informed of meeting times, and then after I would be at the site, I would make minutes and usually include photos of kind of what I observed. Who would you like to receive that information on?
I'd say Dean, he's our select board administrator, and then Dean will contact us.
You can forward it to us.
He'll forward it to us.
Right, I know that in the project planning, I know that Fritz kind of attended a few meetings. Would you like him or someone else to
Sure.
also be
We'd like to.
I can
copied?
just go along with the gang.
Yeah, I mean, you could be separately listed in the email just to
I
make
got
sure
maybe
that you're covered.
2 notifications.
He doesn't, yeah, he doesn't want your notifications.
Okay, I'll just have Dean.
Yeah, it's fine.
And I'll coordinate with Junior by phone. Is that the best to coordinate with you?
Yes. Okay. Anything else?
Good point.
I'll CC Robert as the property owner, adjacent property owner.
I like text messages.
Robert
don't do-
goes by phone too.
He'll get a
Yeah.
phone call.
Tradition.
All in favor of the motion, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So, I have 2 things I'd like to mention during updates. Just to make the board aware, our legal bills are much higher than forecasted. We had our legal bills, the cost for the fiscal year that just ended at $30,000, and planning and zoning was $3,200. Based on the bill that we just received, it appears for this fiscal year that just ended, we're going to be $50,000 over our budget. one of the items, Charlotte Solar, in our claim against them, which is about a $10,000 part of that, we're requesting to be reimbursed, assuming we win that. So that could help the issue. I should say that we, the Select Board, voted to engage attorneys on Charlotte Solar, Peck Electric, the Old Lantern, Edgewater, the Fortin situation, and it's expensive. So the surprise is the magnitude, but the work that was done is what we asked to have done. So I bring it to your attention. Two of these, Edgewater and the Old Lantern, are scheduled for mediation and possibly a hearing. Charlotte Solar and Peck Electric will also have a hearing.
Not Charlotte Solar, but Peck Electric.
Peck Electric will have a hearing. So we're dipping into our new year also with legal expenses above. Our budget for the new year, I believe, is the same as the budget for the prior year. So just be aware.
I look at their bills, and I would like to request of our attorney that they present them in a more tabular fashion that allows us to simply to track how much you're spending on each project. Because when it comes in letter form, and if you want to try to figure out how much you're spending, you got to go back to last year's bill, last month's bill, look for the category. It appears as they've got it all digital anyway. It should not be that hard to put it on some sort of graph that comes with spreadsheet that comes with our bill, so we can say, man, we're really running this one up. So we know how much we're spending on each topic. And then for future, when we decide, hey, let's vote to have them support us, it's going to be clear that, man, we couldn't be committing to 30 grand on this one, because for me, I haven't gone back and taken the time to see which one comes under each category. So I do not have a feel for how much we're spending when we commit to signing them up to fight a solar project.
Yeah, to that point, it might also be good to take the opportunity, if we're asking for more clarity with the billing process, is to ask for estimates on each project. I think
Sure.
The legal counsel has a better idea of the scope or magnitude of a given effort, much better than we do. I know on a few projects, like with the TDI, we set a limit. We said, okay, we're comfortable with spending this much on that issue with legal expenses. But with the Peck Electric, we did not set a limit. And it seems like legal counsel is doing everything in their power to make the most persuasive case. So that ended up being a fairly large bill. We just didn't know it was coming.
To your point, we prepared testimony with our attorney's help. And you're right, if we could say, if we don't want to spend more than $10,000 in preparation of this testimony and to attend the hearing, and the level of detail should be within that framework, or we then, when we meet next time, we increase it if that's the appropriate action.
And it allows us to make informed decisions about a value judgment on behalf of the town. I kind of looked at, one large scale kind of industrial sized solar project costing the town $40,000 or $50,000 in legal expenses kind of means a $500,000 home is ponying up about $10. So if that's something that's worth it to the residents to be consistent with the town plan, then that's an informed decision we could make if we have the estimate of how much it might cost.
Some of these decisions come up at the last minute. We have to commit to make an appearance maybe as soon as we find out about these potential subjects. We can have, Dean can say, when these come up, what's an estimate? So we can start right away with letting them have the opportunity to tell us how much they think they're going to spend.
That'd be nice.
And if they want to charge us to come up with estimates, we'll look for a new attorney. Just a thought.
So you'll ask for that calculator, that calculation form. It'd probably be good to do that for the year 2016 that just ended, to give us a feel of what we spent on solar, some of our HR issues. That would be good.
Like I said, I was looking at the bill on the warrants there, and they've got it broken out per subject, so I wouldn't
Right.
think it would be too hard for their billing company to shuffle it around a
Add
little
it by
bit.
month.
Just- Yeah, so we can see where we're going.
Another topic not of that magnitude, we had a complaint over the junior and dean on the boards, we call it decking of Holmes Bridge.
It's actually just the runners.
The runners.
It's not the deck itself. The deck is fine, it's just the wear runners
Yeah.
that are on top of it that are designed to wear out, to protect the deck.
So, is this something you are able to take on and repair?
Fill it up, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I talked with Mark Cody today about it, and he said that Dean and I talked a little bit about maybe switching the direction of the boards, and he said no, that you want to keep them going with the traffic. And he said it depends on how long you want the boards to last as far as what you use. The best is white oak, which you can't get in state. I guess you'd have to go out of state to get it. You can get red oak, but it doesn't last as long. So, I mean.
I'll get you some red oak.
Huh?
I'll get you the best in America white oak.
White oak?
Are you going to patch the deteriorated boards, or are you going to put a whole new runner system down?
I think we're gonna put a whole new runner system down because it's gonna be hard to make them line back up, because where most of the traffic is, they're worn down thinner. So, and I think what's in there now is like 1.5-inch pressure treated runners is what it looks like. So it's gonna be, I mean, unless you were to put the same thing back there, or get some milled 1.5 inches. A lot of them are over the years. I mean, I think they've been in there like maybe 15, 16 years. They were put in after the bicycle accident is when they were put in. So they're definitely due to being replaced.
So, will you give us an estimate of the cost of this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple other kinds of wood that, I mean, like they deck those trucks that haul dozers and stuff with something called apaton.
What's it called?
Apaton comes in planks, and it's hard as rock. It's what's meant to hold up to the tracks turning on and stuff, so.
It's a wood?
Yeah.
Chris, how do you spell that?
It's, couldn't tell you.
He's
I've
avoiding
ordered
the
it, but I've
question.
never spelled it.
He didn't major in English.
Yeah. I'll, anyway, before we proceed, I'll call someone I know who deals with all that kind of stuff, and we'll see what they're.
Mainly the problem is at the ends of the bridge, you know, that they kind of break free and
Yep.
flip up, and you
Flop
know,
around.
another thing that I don't know, I mean, I was thinking of giving like Mark Sargent a call
Yep.
and see what he thought about it, but maybe even cutting the ends down and putting a flat plate of steel across the ends to hold that down.
Is that that's historic?
But I don't know if that would
We
be
might-
historic, you know.
Yeah, we might have to have, I don't know, do we have to comply with the old bridge folks on this one, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, that was just a thought. I mean, we could put them back down, you know, with some special screws that would hold better than, you know, we've been using nails, and it's just the traffic goes one way and they're braking as they come in, and then they come the other way and they're braking, and it keeps making the boards move, and as the boards get dried out, there's more.
What do you see the timing of this?
I think it should be done ASAP.
So, can you get quotes for those, what did you say, white oak, or?
Yeah, I think I can get quotes for that and check with what,
Yeah.
you know.
Apatong is APITONG. It's a hardwood from Malaysia,
Oh, my God.
Sounds expensive.
but it is the preferred decking for trailers.
For what? Horses or
For,
cows?
No, when you
Trails.
load bulldozers with the
Equipment.
tracks spinning on them, they clear up
How
everything.
about we find the cheapest thing possible and just replace it every 4 years?
Well, we could do that too, you know what I mean?
I
We
mean,
could go with something cheap and like he said, just replace it.
Hemlock.
Well, that pressure treated, or actually
How long
not
does it
pressure
last?
treated anymore.
How
Well,
long
if you're
will
gonna
it
keep it
last?
4 years. you
The
can-
pressure treated in there has probably been in there, I'm gonna say at least 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah.
I use the same, so I'd go with something that's cost effective and just,
Yeah.
you know, if you get 15 years.
No, 'cause if you get-
Triple age.
Yeah, and if you do go with something like pressure treated that is easy to get, if a board gets split or broken, you can easily go and just get another one.
And call those out, heat and polluting that street.
So you'll give us a couple of options then.
Okay.
Pressure treated, this Abaton, white oak perhaps, and scheduled delivery, yes.
I guess I'm wondering if it's kind of, to the point where it's almost, a real hazard, whether it needs to come back to the select board or just do it.
I mean, it would come out of the highway fund, so it doesn't, I don't think it would have to be, I don't think it has to go through you
Okay.
guys.
I mean,
you know,
you say you could do it within your budget?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Oh, that's true, we don't need to re-vote on it. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, it would just mean that we would probably close the bridge out for the day, just because it's gonna be too much of a.
Just let us know, Dean,
Okay.
let
Yeah,
us
I
know
can-
through email or something,
Yep.
timing, what kind of wood you're gonna use, that's sort of interesting.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. That's what I had for updates. Anybody else have anything?
Well, since we're talking about bridges, they're working away on the Seguin Bridge. They're just about ready to take the roof off in one piece and move it off to the side. And to answer your question about leftover wood, all of the wood belongs to the contractor per the contract. So
They could donate
it
it.
would be, they could donate it, but they've said so far they're more than happy to sell it to anybody that wants it. I don't expect that much wood, but they have, anyway, I asked the question. So,
Okay, board members, we have warrants that have to be signed. You got some more, Dean?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you're authorized, or I'm authorized to submit a claim for the lot 128 to the League of Cities and Towns.
To the insurance company.
Right.
Why are we doing that?
Yeah, we're not there yet.
The town is submitting a claim
Yep.
on behalf of a
This
resident?
is the claim that Paul Arthod has made against the town
Right.
for the expense, for what he determines his cost, or,
Is that official yet? He made a claim with a total dollar value on it?
I think it's through an email. Is it through an email, or what did you get?
Yep, it's an email with reference to a purchase and sales agreement.
I think maybe we just wait till we've refused it and he says, okay, I'm gonna sue you, then tell the insurance company we're getting sued.
Have you guys seen that email,
No.
that dollar amount or
No.
anything?
No.
What is the email?
It was an email from his from his realtor.
And what was the amount that he was asking for?
That, at this point, is not public information unless the select board wants to make it public information.
Is there any reason why it can't be public information?
I don't know. Has our lawyer seen this?
No.
Why the hell would we make a
It's
claim?
a documented sale, so I mean, anybody can look up what it actually sold for.
It hasn't sold yet.
It's pending the approval of permitting to build a house.
But if you can't get permits, so what?
And the claim is for the full retail value?
His claim was for the contract.
Tell them I had trouble with it.
Well, it seems a little premature
Yeah,
to
let's
me to
See what happens
submit
and we
an
can
insurance.
discuss it. I guess we would have to do it in an executive session because it may lead to it.
Well, I mean,
But then we would just say, we deny, and let them, we should have something in writing we can look at. A claim against the town for this, so we can look at it and say, yeah, we'll pay that, no, we won't.
so it was an email to you with a formal claim, or how would you say it?
I wouldn't say a formal claim. It was, at this point, it was a request, and that I said I would represent and bring it to the select board.
So why don't you ask him to make a formal claim against the town that we can have the select board review and
And get a legal opinion on it.
have
Act
get a
on it.
legal
See
opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I
what the
think
strength of it
the
is.
purpose was to try to
Negotiate.
avoid attorney fees, but if that's where,
But if
Well,
we choose to go to,
the estimate of an attorney fee is gonna be small in comparison, for an opinion on this, I think is gonna be small in comparison to
the claim.
the claim itself.
but
To me,
the
that would be worth
insurance
it.
is free.
Yeah, but an opinion, I can't imagine they'd put in more than an hour's worth of work on this.
Oh, the
maybe even a
lawyer,
half
our
hour.
lawyer,
Yeah,
our
just,
lawyer.
is this a strong case or not? If we need someone to defend it, it's clearly an insurance issue.
I
But
mean-
for us to make the decision to make a claim or not, I think would be legal counsel to look
I
at.
mean,
Once you
we
hit
did, Fritz and Lane, and I talked to David Rue last week, and he did suggest to make a claim, but that was with the information available.
Spoke with,
Well, I don't think we should commit with email mentioned from a real estate agent. I mean, that's not a claim. Let's
No.
see something that's a real claim. I think you should send me this, and maybe he'll include why. And maybe we can go at least, I don't know,
So have
take it from
him
there.
submit, does that make sense, a formal claim to the town, which goes to the select board?
Sure.
Okay,
I mean, as far as I can see, the town is also experiencing a loss in revenue from this.
no, he's paying his rent.
He is, but the resolution of it will be a loss of what the original income was. I think any way I can see us splitting this.
Perhaps.
So, I mean, you know, the individual is not the only one experiencing a
tax
financial loss
Burden against, but the,
over the next, you know, indefinite period of time.
These people will suck it up right there. They're not gonna have a town market, so.
But I don't think they wanna buy it. They just don't want our butts shack there.
okay, so that's satisfactory to the board, so maybe for the next meeting, if he submits a formal claim, we can then publicly review it and.
Okay.
Do we want to have our attorney weigh in on this when it comes in, or do we want to see it first?
Maybe see it first.
Okay, we'll see it first then. Okay? Any other topics? Is there a motion to adjourn?
You betcha.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.